Chapter 6. What Lingers? Tim didn't recognize the number. He let it ring twice, thumb hovering over decline. Mist watched him from the windowsill, ears twitching as if she heard something in the silence between tones. Something old, he picked up. Tim? The voice was soft, familiar, a little hoarse. His chest tightened. Maria? Pause. Yeah, I know it's been a long time. 3 years. But he didn't say it out loud. I need help, she said. Those 3 words hit harder than any haunting. He hadn't heard her voice since the day he left her standing in the doorway of that too big house with the crooked porch. Hadn't meant to disappear completely, but he had. What kind of help? Tim asked. Another pause. Longer this time. I don't know. Something feels wrong, and I didn't know who else to call. She didn't sound afraid. She sounded tired, drained, the way she used to sound when things got bad and she didn't understand why, when he used to think it was his fault. I'll come, he said. Maria lived 2 cities over now, in a neighborhood that looked like it had never been touched by anything sharper than time. Trees leaned toward each other. Lawns sat patiently under fog. The sky was the kind of flat gray that swallowed shadows. Tim parked across from the house. Mist stayed curled in the front seat, watching the door. When it opened, she growled, low, throat deep. Tim gently touched her back. Hey, it's okay, you remember her. He got out. Maria stood in the doorway. Her hair was longer than he remembered, darker too. She looked good, healthier than the last time. No more dark circles, no more stiff arms crossed against him. She wore a soft sweater, bare feet, a small smile. And for a second, just a second, Tim wondered, was she only sick because of me? Hi, she said. He smiled. Hi. They stood like that for a moment, still strangers, still something else. You didn't have to come, she said. You called. She stepped aside. Come in, just for a bit. Inside, the house smelled like lemon cleaner and faint incense, bright, normal, nothing out of place. But something in the air still felt wrong, too still. Maria made tea. Tim sat on the couch with Miss Carrier beside him. Miss didn't come out. They talked about nothing at first. Work, weather, awkward laughs. Maria said she'd moved here 2 years ago. Needed quiet. Said she was finally feeling like herself again. But then she paused. I've been having bad dreams, she said, staring into her cup. Tim looked at her closely. What kind? I don't remember them, but I wake up afraid, and sometimes... She hesitated. Sometimes it's like I did something while I was asleep, but I don't know what. I find the doors unlocked, the fridge open. One night I woke up in the shower, fully clothed. Tim didn't speak. Maria looked at him, eyes almost pleading. I don't want to lose it again. Tim checked into the Cypress Inn, a tired building with sun-bleached curtains and a front desk clerk who didn't ask questions. The carpet in his room was a pattern of muted red roses, wilted now. The air smelled like lemon air freshener over stale cigarettes. Mist circled the room twice before curling on the edge of the bed, tail twitching. She hadn't hissed again, but she hadn't relaxed either. Tim sat at the desk with his laptop open, cursor blinking in an empty search bar. His fingers hovered over the keys. What was he even looking for? He typed, mood swings, supernatural possession, then deleted it. Instead, he opened a folder on his desktop labeled Case Notes Unfiled. He hadn't added to it since the motel mirror. He clicked open a new page. 6. Maria, possible infestation or attachment. Host symptoms. Emotional volatility, memory gaps, sleep disturbances, past exposure, long-term unexplained psychological stress during marriage. Pattern, sharp mood shifts, calm periods, escalating fear, confusion. Notable, Mist reacts negatively to present spies. He stared at the list. It didn't feel clinical. It felt personal, like writing it down might break something sacred or confirm something he didn't want to admit. Flashback, Tim lying on their old couch, Maria shouting from the kitchen, then crying 5 minutes later. Her voice muffled behind the door. I don't know why I get like this. Tim curled up, whispering to no one, me neither. Back in the present, the window rattled slightly. Just wind. Maybe. He looked out. Streetlights flickered. A couple walked by, a delivery car, nothing else. But then, a shape across the road. Standing still, watching. He tensed. But it wasn't Maria. Just a lamppost and bad light. Or maybe that's what it wanted him to think. Mist growled, low and steady. Tim shut the laptop. He wasn't ready to jump to conclusions, not yet, but he also couldn't ignore the part of him that whispered, it's happening again. Tim arrived early the next morning with coffee in hand and a pit in his stomach. Maria answered the door in pajama pants and a sweatshirt, hair loose, eyes a little puffy, but she smiled like nothing was wrong. "You didn't have to do that," she said, taking the coffee and brushing her fingers against his. Her skin felt clammy, cold. "I was up early," Tim lied. They sat in the living room while she sipped from the cup. Her cat, she'd gotten a new one, a sleepy gray tabby, stayed upstairs. Mist refused to leave her carrier, still watching Maria like she was something under glass. They talked. Tim played it easy, casual. She laughed. A real laugh. But when he asked her about her job, a school library assistant she'd told him just yesterday, she blinked at him. "I never worked at a school," she said. He nodded like he'd made a mistake. Let it pass. Later, while she was in the shower, Tim wandered to the bedroom. He didn't snoop, just looked. The bed was unmade. The blinds were drawn. Her bookshelf was neatly arranged, romance novels, self-help paperbacks, a half-burned lavender candle. He noticed something odd. The bottom edge of the mattress was ripped. The wooden bed frame beneath was splintered, deep gouges like someone had dragged something sharp across it over and over again. He bent down, looked closer. There were scratches, not just frantic claw marks, letters, a word, carved again and again with raw desperation. "Noctis." Tim exhaled through his nose, slow and tight. Tim stood in Maria's room, heart ticking slow and heavy. He crouched, brushing the ripped mattress aside. The gouges in the wood weren't just scratches. He didn't recognize it. Not English, not familiar. Could be Latin. Could be nothing. But something in his chest reacted like it had heard the name before. Not in his head, in his bones. "Everything okay in there?" Maria called from the hall. He cleared his throat. "Yeah, just looking for a blanket for Mist." "You're sweet," she said. Her voice sounded like her again. That was the scariest part. He forced a smile when he passed her, but her eyes tracked him too long, too still. Back in the motel, Tim opened his laptop like he was afraid of what it would tell him. Mist curled on the dresser, her tail twitching like she was counting down. He typed in the word, hundreds of results, most in Latin, night, of the night, poetic, literary. Harmless on the surface. But mixed among the scholarly definitions were other hits. Old forums, deep blogs, posts with more dirt than polish. Paranormal archives, unofficial demonology lists. He clicked through one. A name invoked in whispered rites. Entity tied to emotional suffering and identity confusion. Not a spirit, not a ghost, a parasite. It feeds through love, grief, and long-term psychological erosion. Host often unaware. He sat back, swallowed hard. Known behavior mimics the living, erodes trust, drives division in close relationships, targets those who blame themselves, often mistaken for mental illness. He stared at the screen. Rare, intelligent, dangerous. A half-loaded photo at the bottom showed a sketch. A woman curled on the floor, mouth open, her shadow behind her writhing like smoke. Tim closed the laptop. Mist growled once, then went still. He knew what this was. He didn't know how to stop it yet, but he knew it had a name now. Tim clicked on his burner tab, an encrypted email server he only used for one contact. He typed, "Lenora, I think I found something I missed years ago. Word, Noctis. Need advice, need help, fast." He hit send, then opened a new file. Started typing Case 6, active host Maria, possible demonic attachment, Noctis, objective containment, observation, exorcism. Status, preparing countermeasure fries. He looked over at Mist. "We're not leaving her like this." Mist blinked once. He couldn't sleep. He sat by the window, Mist curled at his feet, still watching the darkness like it owed her something. In the distance, Maria's house sat quiet, and Tim's thoughts spiraled back to the worst of their marriage, the way she used to shift moods like lightning, the tears, the rage, the way she'd scream like she didn't know why she was angry, the way he'd sit in silence, taking it, hating himself for not helping her. He'd thought they were both sick. He'd thought that's just what love looked like when it broke down. But now, he wasn't sure. Now, it looked like something had been feeding on them. Slowly, patiently, until they were too numb to tell the difference between love and suffering. Mist growled softly. Tim turned to the window. The streetlights outside flickered, and then just for a second, Maria was standing in the road, pale, still, staring straight at his room. Then the lights blinked, and she was gone. Tim returned to Maria's house late the next morning. She answered the door in yesterday's clothes, her eyes ringed with red. "I didn't sleep," she said. He gave her a quiet nod. Want to talk about it? Maria smiled too quickly. No, let's not ruin a good day before it starts. She looked past him like someone might be following. Inside, things were off. The mirrors in the hallway were all covered with bed sheets. Tim didn't mention it. She said she'd made breakfast, but the stove was cold. The kitchen smelled like burned toast and bleach. He offered to help clean out the attic, an excuse to walk the house, measure distances, scout possible weak points. Upstairs, the air felt thick. Quiet. Too quiet. Tim checked the flooring under the bed, the closets, the corners, measured out the radius for a salt circle with his steps. Found an old chalk box in her junk drawer and pocketed a stick. A backup. He asked casually, You ever hear the word Noctis? Maria blinked. Sounds like a wine brand. Tim smiled. Probably. That afternoon, he returned to the motel and laid out his tools. Rock salt poured into a plastic container, a spool of iron wire uncoiled slowly, a length of rope soaked in rosemary and vinegar. His journal, filled with exorcism notes pulled from Lenora's old PDFs. A printed Latin rite, barely held together by staples and coffee stains. Lenora still hadn't replied. He didn't wait. He tested a binding ring with chalk on the floor of the motel, practicing under his breath. Latin felt strange and not unnatural, but heavy. Adligote, revocote, exergo in lumen. Mist paced the edge of the chalk circle, never stepping inside. That was confirmation enough. Back at Maria's place that night, she was humming in the living room. Her cat was hiding under the table. The lights flickered once, just once. Time said, You ever get déjà vu? Maria smiled without looking up. All the time. Tim stepped into the hallway and slowly dragged a line of salt beneath the rug. Tim in the guest bedroom. He draws the final mark of the containment circle on a piece of masking tape stuck under the edge of the bed frame. A quiet breath leaves his chest. In the next room, Maria's voice, but not her voice, sings an old lullaby. One they never shared. Tim sat at the edge of the bed in the guest room, staring at the salt line beneath the doorframe. He could hear Maria pacing downstairs, heels on hardwood, the same 3 steps, over and over. He'd been waiting for her to go to sleep. She wasn't sleeping. He checked his watch. 2:47 a.m. Mist curled up near his bag. Her ears flicked toward the hallway with every creak. The pacing stopped. A whisper, low and raw, filtered through the thin motel-style wall. Tim. His blood went cold. He didn't respond. Maria standing outside the guest room. Just standing. In her nightgown, barefoot, one hand twitching slightly by her side, her head tilted, eyes locked on the door. She hadn't knocked. She didn't blink. Tim stood slowly. He didn't speak. He just waited. Then softly, Why are you afraid of me? The voice was hers, almost, but something about it was too smooth, too steady. He opened the door halfway. She didn't move. Her eyes were glassy, skin pale, lips dry. Tim said, Are you okay? She smiled, but her teeth looked sharper somehow. You've always hated me when I'm like this, haven't you? That stopped him cold. When I'm quiet, when I'm angry, when I need you the most. Tim's hand gripped the doorframe. Maria took a step closer. Mist hissed from behind him. It's easier to fight a demon than a sick wife, isn't it? He tried to hold her gaze, but it didn't feel like he was looking at her anymore. Not really. Later that night, Maria finally went to bed. Tim waited 30 minutes, then crept into her room, heart hammering. She was asleep, breathing slow. He moved fast, laid down the last of the salt ring, marked the corners, slid the iron nails into the baseboards, every motion practiced. Quiet. He stood back, finished the final chalk line under the rug with shaking hands. She didn't stir, but just as he turned to leave, eyes open, staring, glowing faintly in the dark. You missed a spot. He backed out of the room and closed the door fast, slamming the latch. Maria, or whatever she was now, laughed, not high and manic, not cruel, just quiet, calm, controlled, like it had waited years to be this close again. Tim back in the hallway, breathing hard, pressing his palm against the wall to steady himself. His phone buzzes. One message from Lenora. If you are ready to fight, don't hesitate. Trap it. Force it out. Tim looks up at the closed door. The chalk has dried, the salt ring holds, the nails are set, the rope is coiled at the base of the door, and Tim, exhausted, scared but resolute, stands at the center of the room, Latin printout in hand, eyes on Maria. She sits on the bed, calm, too calm, her head tilted, like she's watching a stranger. This is ridiculous, she says. Tim doesn't respond. He begins chanting, Tim, stop it! You're scaring me. I'm not well, I told you that. This isn't how you help me. You're making it worse. He keeps reading. Her body trembles, but she doesn't rise. I took those pills because of you, because you made me feel like a burden. You were always halfway out the door. You didn't save me. You left me. Tim's voice shakes, but he keeps reading, louder now. Adligote, revocote, exergo in lumen. Maria's eyes roll back, then snap forward, jet black for a breath. You liked it when I needed you. Admit it. You were broken long before I came. I just gave it shape. I wore her face, and you still came back. The room vibrates. Lights flicker. The air thickens. Mist growls behind the door. Maria lifts off the bed 2 inches, arms limp at her sides. Her mouth moves, but her voice doesn't come out. Instead, it's his voice. Tim's. Whispering the words back at him, mocking him. She falls to her knees inside the circle, weeping. Please, I don't know what's happening. Tim, please help me. Help me. It's me. I don't want to die. It's her voice again. Perfectly her. She looks terrified. Tim stumbles. His hands shake. He lowers the paper, takes a step forward. I'm so scared, she says. Don't leave me. Mist hisses from the hallway, and Tim stops. Blinks. No. He steps back. You're not her. Then I'll be you. Maria lets out a scream. Not hers. Not human. It fractures the air like glass. She lunges, but the salt ring ignites, staff flaring white and gold. Tim roars the next line of the incantation. Et super nos lucet veritas. Exi. The thing inside her screeches. The walls tremble. Her skin darkens. Veins blacken. Her mouth opens wider than it should. And just as it begins to rip free, the lights explode. Flash. Silence. When Tim comes to, the room is torn apart. The salt line is broken. Maria lies on the floor, breathing, unconscious. The window is open. The curtains flutter. The demon is gone. The lead is staff. Tim sat on the floor with his back against the wall. Mist curled next to his thigh, her head resting on his leg, tail still for the first time in days. The sun was just starting to rise. Light crept through the slats of the blinds like it was afraid to touch him. He held the wedding photo in his hands one last time. Their faces were young, smiling, naive. He touched the edge of the picture where Maria's hand rested on his shoulder. You weren't the monster, he whispered. And neither was I. All these years he'd carried the weight of their collapse, like he'd been too cold, too distant, too weak. He'd thought her rage was something he deserved, that her pain was something he caused. But it wasn't her. Not always, and it wasn't him, not completely. Something else had lived between them, inside her, around them, feeding, turning love into rot, turning care into guilt. And he'd believed it, because it wanted him to. He'd believed it for years. He set the photo in the motel sink, lit a match, watched it burn to the edge of the porcelain. The flames flickered, then curled inward, blackening her smile. Smoke twisted up toward the vent. She'll be okay, he murmured, now that I'm gone. He couldn't stay, not after what happened, not after what he knew. It wasn't finished. The thing, Noctis, had escaped, and it wasn't done with him. You wanted me weak, he said to no one. You fed off what I hated in myself. He turned to his notebook, flipped to a new page. At the top, in bold, he wrote, Case 6. Entity, demonic, confirmed. Method, long-term psychological erosion, possession through emotional bonds. Weakness, salt, iron, Latin invocation. Status, incomplete banishment. Threat level, returnative. Find. Destroy it. He clicked the pen closed, packed his things, slid Mist's carrier under one arm. The air was crisp. The world had started over, but Tim hadn't. He opened the car door. Mist jumped in without protest. As he slid into the driver's seat, he glanced once at the motel. He started the engine. Didn't look back. 1 down, he whispered. 1,000 to go.